Okay, I know what you guys are probably saying after my last two reviews. It's like, can we please get back to prog? And yeah, let's dip our toes back in. I don't know if we would necessarily call this prog, but I think it's prog enough, right? Right? I'm pretty sure this is prog. Yeah. All right, let's dive into this one. LSD by Cardiacs. So, Cardiacs in an English rock-ish band getting their start in the early to mid 80s. I feel like they kind of came around when, a lot of the experimentation in the punk scene was starting to become stagnated. And so they came in with a shot in the arm, really doing some like Captain Beefheart and Mr. Bungle and like really strange avant-garde, just like throwing everything on the wall and seeing what stuck. It was heavy, it was hard, it was punk, in the true sense of what it meant to be punk, And they kind of carried that through into about like the mid 90s, early 2000s. And unfortunately, in the mid to late 2000s, Tim Smith, the main kind of singer, songwriter, producer of Cardiacs, had a fairly intensive stroke, and kind of left him unable to perform and only really able under certain circumstances to even write and record music. And so this album had been started around that time, the early mids, around 2007 to 2008, right? Like that's where the beginning stages of this album really started. And this was kind of like a myth, right? Because unfortunately, Tim's health never really improved all that much and subsequently led to his death a handful of years ago, which really shook a lot of us in the musical community. Like, I love Cardiacs, like they're one of my favorite bands. Knowing that this album had been worked on for so long that it will never see the light of day. Now, I know that subsequently, a lot of the other band members found the project that Tim had been working on and finally finished it. Very similar to a lot of posthumous albums where the artist knew that this was kind of the end and was working on it and then couldn't finish it. The rest of the bandmates kind of came through and finished it off. Like Shame Into the Truth from Kevin Gilbert, or like From a Basement on a Hill from Elliott Smith. These are these really passionate, creative souls that met their end and had this big project unfinished. So this comes at a bittersweet because, like, on the one hand, I never expected to hold this record in my hand. Like this was a record I never thought would see the light of day. And knowing that this is Tim's final statement, man, it's heavy. It's really heavy. And like those other works I already mentioned, this is a beast. It's an hour and 20 minutes. It's technically a full-length double record. And man, you feel every moment on this record. This really is Cardiacs and Tim Smith going out on the highest of highs. Like, I would put this alongside Sing to God, A Little Man and a House, and the whole world window, On Land and On Sea. This is them performing at their peak. You don't have a bad record from Cardiacs. Like even Heaven Born and Ever Bright and Guns, the two albums I don't really mess with all that much, are still fantastic records if I'm being perfectly honest. But LSD really showcases them playing at full force. And one of the things that I love about this album is the amount of space given to so many of these tracks. Like, at no point do I ever feel as if these tracks are demos or first drafts. These feel like fully fleshed out and fully realized statements. From the first track of Men in Bed to the last track of Pet Pheasant. Each one hits very, very hard. And obviously, it's those bigger tracks that I really like Skating and Busty Bees. This is where I really, really love the moments that are found on here. We still have a lot of that aggression and a lot of the energy that we found from, the beginning stages of Cardiacs, especially with The May and Wooden Eyes. But we also have a lot more of the more introspective and a lot more of like realizing that this is coming to an end with tracks like Breed, Made It All Up, and Down Up. Tim's poetry on here is just fantastic. His allusions and metaphors are dripping with a lot of really great substances that I really enjoy. And where you could tell that either Tim's vision couldn't get realized on paper, either through, one thing or another. The rest of the band does come in with some background singing. There's a number of moments where other people are taking the reins in terms of the singing on here. But I really do think as if the rest of the band really wanted to make this kind of the Tim show in all the best ways. And I absolutely adored this. Now, this is where I'm going to put a little bit of the warning signs. This is where I want to pump the brake a little bit. I may be gushing about this album, and I might be reeling and really loving this record. This album is not for everybody. I want to make that perfectly clear. If you listen to the first, say, 5 seconds of Men in Bed and think, oh, I don't know if this is for me, it probably isn't for you. This is one of those really intense acquired taste kind of a records, because you're going to know really quickly whether or not this is going to be for you. I knew immediately when I started listening to Cardiacs, and this album I knew from the get-go was going to be an amazing trip. I bought this record after about the first minute and a half of Men in Bed, because I'm like, nope, this one's for me. I can't wait to listen to the whole thing. But I also know that most people would find this very grating. This is a rock in opposition. This is a time. So know that going in. If you are a fan already of the Cardiacs, this is an absolute delight. You're going to absolutely love this one. If you're new to the band, approach it with a little bit of caution. That's what I really want to make people aware of. If this is going to be for you, it's going to hit, and it's going to hit really hard. If it's not going to be for you, it's going to be torture. Do not sink too much time in this. It's an hour and 20 minutes. It's a lot of music. Even I will realize, listening to this record, there's going to be moments where I'm like, okay, I'm not quite feeling it. I need to take this off, and I need to listen to something else, because the rest of the time is not going to be a very good time. But man, when I'm in that mood and that sound hits, it's like, mwah. It is perfect. This is an absolute delight. I think Cardiacs went out on one of their best records, and I think this one's going to age very, very finely. So, yeah, that's what I've got for LSD. It's one that I absolutely have been loving. I want to spend a lot more time with it because there's so many deep nooks and crannies on this. And again, I want to just applaud the boys for giving the space to a lot of these records and a lot of these tracks that I feel like other bands and other artists wouldn't necessarily give. And maybe that was because they wanted to really honor Tim and not leave anything off of the cutting floor. But I also think that's them honoring the sounds and honoring the tracks and being like, no, this track needs a little bit more space, so we're going to honor it and give it. So, yeah, absolute delight. Absolute delight. My final rating for this album will be LSD by Cardiacs. It's an album I absolutely love with my whole heart. Yeah, I only have good things to say about this record. I loved it. But what did you guys think about this record? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, please let me know by commenting down below. And yeah, I think that's where I'm going to leave you for today. It really pains me to know that this is the final farewell to Cardiacs, but man, what a goodbye. What a goodbye. So, yeah. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.